Okay. I think we're finally ready to start. Sorry for that delay. I would like to welcome all of you to our annual meeting. I am Kelly Vance, and I'm the chair of LAM Action. I'd also like to give a special welcome to those of you who are joining us for the first time. We have a fair number of new patients with us today, and also some other people for whom this is your first meeting, so welcome. I think you may find some of the information today a bit overwhelming, but hopefully you'll come away with a better understanding of who we are and that you'll want to continue participating with LAM Action. I'd also like to give a special welcome, assuming it's working, to the people who are watching us online. We are once again streaming this thanks to the efforts of David Mercer and his intrepid team of cameramen and sound engineers, who are his and Julie Mullen's children, for those who can't see them. But we have had some trouble today with our internet connection, and so we do hope it works, and if it doesn't work, we are recording the session so people can see it later. I hold no illusions whatsoever that you're here to listen to me. But I think most of us come here to catch up with old friends, to put faces to names, and to hear about the research that's happened over the course of the past year. For those of us who were lucky enough to make it last night, we got started on the socializing a bit early at Anne Tattersfield's home. And I'm still meeting a lot of people, and so it's just a wonderful opportunity to meet in a more relaxed setting, and thank you very much for making your home available to us again. My job at the moment is to talk about the year that's just ended. Purely in the interest of time, I'm going to leave to others to talk about the research developments and the conclusion of the doxycycline trial, about our fundraising, and about the very important contributions that a lot of other people have made through the year. Let me just say that throughout this past year, we continued to achieve, I think, and work toward our principal aims, which are to support patients and their families and physicians, and to fundraise to help advance that support and our research efforts. We also maintained progress, I think, building on the past achievements of prior years, and I'll give you a few examples. LAM patients continue to benefit hugely from the National LAM Center. And although the center is independent from us, obviously and rightly so, we feel that we have quite a stake in it. Many of you responded to Jill Hollis's request for information and feedback about your experiences at the center, and I want to thank those of you who did reply. I also want to thank Jill for her efforts in gathering that feedback and in reporting back on it. Jill submitted a report to the National Specialized Commissioning Team to help demonstrate really just how important the LAM Center is to LAM patients. Some of what we've done this year, it won't be obvious to most of you. This past year, the government issued a consultation on rare diseases. They were seeking input on issues such as the delay in diagnosis for rare disease, the need for specialty training, and the need for just overall care. The executive committee decided that it was important to comment on that consultation. We wanted to support the arguments for the need for a prompt diagnosis, for specialty training, for coordinated joined-up care, and for centers of excellence in care. We wanted to point out the challenges that accompany fundraising and research for rare disease. We also wanted to highlight the benefits that so many LAM patients have received from the National LAM Center and from LAM Action. My own personal view is that the LAM Action and the National LAM Center are just stellar examples of how to approach rare disease. And I want to thank Charlotte Smith for her work in preparing our response, which we submitted last month. Another not so visible project that the Executive Committee has been working on involves our website. We know that the website is the first place people look to find information about LAM, and we are currently working on updating our site, and we hope to roll it out at the end of this year. During the past year, we've also been participating in discussions regarding where respiratory care is headed in England in light of the new commissioning system that went into effect April 1st. Many of you will recall that Sheila Edwards, the chief executive of the British Thoracic Society, met with us last year and spoke at this meeting. It's largely through Sheila's efforts that we have been involved in these discussions about respiratory care, and Jan Johnson will tell you more about that in just a minute. As Jane Tallents will report, we're on stable financial footing. However, at the end of this past year, we accepted a big challenge for which we need your help. You'll hear later this morning about some exciting research that is taking place. And to help advance that research, we have committed to help fund a PhD student who has worked with Professor Simon Johnson and Debbie Clements. As a result, we need to raise an additional £75,000 over the next 3 years. That's in addition to what we normally raise. We'll talk later today about this fundraising drive and how you can help. As I've just mentioned finances, I think it might be a good time to introduce Jane Tallents, who is our treasurer, and Jane will go through the financial year for us. Jane?
Thank you, Kelly. So this is just a quick run through, I won't keep you long, the finances for the last year, which is from May 2012 to April 2013. First of all, balances for the year. At the beginning of the year, we had £164,122 in hand. Income for the year was £73,677. Expenditure, £52,511, giving us a balance at the end of the year of £185,288. This is a breakdown of the income. Major source of income is fundraising, 65%, 47,691. Donations raised 22,673. Sales 2,081. And interest 1,232, giving us our total income of 73,677. Expenditure. Our main expenditure is on research, 71% of the money, 37,194. Patient support and administration, 7,903. And PR and fundraising expenses, 7,414. Giving us our total expenditure of 52,511. At the year end, our assets included in the HSBC Bank 103,393, in Lloyds 81,886, bond interest pending 9,018, A tax-free claim pending, 3,110. Cash in hand, 9, giving us total assets of 193,416. And our liabilities over the next 12 months, research, 62,000. Now that's more than usual, because we're including the new 25,000 for the first year. Patient support and administration, 8,500. PR and fundraising expenses, 7,500, giving us total liabilities of 78,000 just over the next 12 months. So our net assets at the end of the year, 119,416. And just finally, a reminder about gift aid. Tax reclaimed last year, 6,681. So if you haven't filled in the gift aid form and you do pay tax and you would like to fill in the gift aid form, please do so. If you're not sure if you've already done so, I've got a list of who has. And just also, if you have in the past signed a gift aid form but you no longer pay tax, could you let me know so that I can update the records? Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. It is time to appoint our executive committee members and officers for the coming year. And under our constitution, the executive committee needs to be at least 3 people and no more than 15. And our members can elect up to 9 people, and our board can co-opt up to 8. Or excuse me, our committee can co-opt up to 8. All of the existing members of the committee have offered to serve again for the next year. And so I'd like to present the following people, and these would be the members that we want you to vote on. And if people could stand or wave or otherwise show who you are. But you don't need to stay standing for the whole time. I'm Kelly Vance. Jane Tallents, whom you all just saw. Julie Goodliff, Lucy Falconer, Jill Hollis, Simon Johnson, Helen Sabin, Ann Tattersfield, and John Wood. So, sorry for all the formality, but we do need a motion for these people to be elected. Sally, would you like to give a motion for Yes, thank you. And we need a second as well. Thank you. Okay, if everyone just maybe by show of hands could say that you're in favor, and I hope you are. And is anyone opposed? Okay, great, thank you. And we will be co-opting Javi Carroll, Claire Lowrys, David Mercer, Charlie Sabin, Annie Sikowski, and Charlotte Smith. And I probably should have just had all of you guys stand up too, so maybe just wave. Yeah, David's up at the top of the room. Okay, for officers, again, we need to go through these formalities. So I have agreed, if you'll have me, to serve as chair for another year. Julie Goodliff, who has been our secretary this year, has agreed to serve again. And Jane Tallents as treasurer again. So again, so moved. Yes. And seconded. Thank you. And are you all in favor? Great. Okay, I think we're probably done with all the formal part of this meeting, unless anybody has any other business. And if there isn't any, we can close that formal part, but thank you. I would like to say a few more words, if you can bear with me. This is a special day for us because we are celebrating our 10th anniversary of LAM Action. And the executive committee has spent a lot of time thinking about the achievements that we wanted to celebrate today. As part of that process, I've been struck by the tremendous amount of work that a very small group of people have done, many of whom, virtually all of whom, are volunteers, many of whom have busy careers and families, and some of whom are in poor health. And so I want to close my remarks with a personal story and a plea. A little over 6 years ago, I met Lucy Falconer when we were both patients at a LAM research program in the United States. Lucy told me that I should volunteer for LAM Action. She said there was a lot to be done. I initially did not want to volunteer. I thought, I'm way too busy, I don't have time. And frankly, I didn't want to be reminded every day I had LAM. I just didn't want it that present in my life. But I thought about it for a few months, and I thought, maybe I could help, and actually I would like to get involved. I joined the executive committee in 2007, and I can honestly say I have enjoyed it tremendously. Working with a group of people, all from different backgrounds with different skill sets, different life experiences, but all working toward a common goal. It takes a lot of time and effort to keep LAM Action running. Contrary to what some of our members think, we don't receive any government funding, nor do we have a large staff. Jan Johnson is our only employee, and she works officially, and I stress the officially, 1 day a week. We are entirely self-supporting, and it's not just money that we're responsible for raising. Just as, if not more important, are the time and effort that Jan and a small group of volunteers put into keeping us running smoothly. Those people are both on and off the executive committee. Think about it for just a minute. You chat on Lamline, you attend a local patient get-together, you give your doctor our patient fact sheet, and you read LAMPost. You're attending today's meeting. At the lunch break, hopefully, you'll buy a raffle ticket, or you'll buy some Christmas cards. All of those things require organization. All of them require effort, and they're all run by Jan and a small group of volunteers. You don't need to be on the executive committee to make a contribution, and there are a lot of people out in the audience today who are good examples of that. So please, and this is the plea part of my story, when we reach out for help, whether it's organizing a local patient get-together or organizing raffle prizes, whether it's for stories for LAMPost, whatever the request, please stop and think whether you can help us. We are speaking to you, and we need your help. We have achieved a tremendous amount in the past 10 years. The challenge is to continue that progress. As our membership grows, and perhaps because of all that we have done, our expectations rise. It becomes more important than ever for all of us to think about how we can help. And I thank you very much. Thank you. As I've just mentioned Jan Johnson's name several times, it's probably time for her to come up. If there's anyone in the room who doesn't know who Jan is, she is the voice you hear officially when you call the LAM Action Office, and she does 100,000 things more than that. She'll be embarrassed if I say any more about her. So here she is to talk about the year in review.
Sorry. Thank you. That's that one. These. Forward and back. That. Sorry, I'm not great. Right. Really wonderful to see you all here
I'm not good with these either. I don't know how I'm going to live up to what Kelly's just said, but thank you all for coming. It's really great to see so many of you here. It's been a very trying morning. I don't think we're live yet, but we have our fingers crossed that we will be within the next half an hour or so. So I'm going to welcome you all here and tell you a bit about what we've been doing in the past year. I may overlap a little bit with what Kelly's said, so apologies if I do. The doxycycline trial that many of you helped to fund has finished, and Simon has written it all up, and it's gone for publication. Hopefully it's going to be accepted in the next few weeks. So he's going to tell you all about that later on. I'm not going to go on about it. We've finished our rebranding, and a big thank you has to go to John for this. I've had the little cards, the purse card size cards. Some of you probably won't know what they are, but they're just a really helpful little card that you can take, and when you get really sick of telling people how many times what LAM is about, how to spell it, you can just show them these little cards. They're also useful if you get taken into hospital, if you're away on holiday and you want to explain what LAM is about, and you just give people a card. So they're downstairs. Please help yourself to them. We've redone the fact sheet completely this year, and big thank you to Anne for helping with that one, and to Jill, and again to John, wherever he is, over there. And it looks much prettier, and I think we're all quite pleased with it. There's a few copies of that downstairs, but the best place to get it is from the website. You can just download it directly from there. And many of you may remember we sent out a survey this year just to see if you were happy with what we were delivering via the office, and I'm really pleased to report you were, so thank you. And as Kelly touched on earlier, there were 38 of you replied, sorry. The main thing to come out of it really was that you'd like to see the website updated, so we're working on that now. Moving on to patient support. We've only really been partially successful in setting up the local groups. I tried quite hard to get people to come on board, and a lot of people seemed interested, but sadly nobody really seemed interested in running the individual groups. We've got a really successful one down in the South Midlands that Helen and Lucy and Linda are very involved in. Sorry, is there anyone else here that I've missed off? Sorry if I have. They've got Joy. They've got a really successful group. They're very supportive of each other and meet up quite frequently. And there is one in the sort of Notts, Lincolnshire area, and I think Annie's involved in that one, aren't you, Annie? Yeah. Oh, yeah, and Helen. So, I don't think they meet quite as frequently. And then Kelly's been involved in doing one in London, but really Kelly's very busy, so she'd love someone else to take that role on, please, if anyone feels like coming forward. Really what I'm asking for here is, it's just like arranging a night out with your friends, really. It's just email a few people, ask them to come. If they don't want to come, then you don't have to chase them up. And then when you fix the date, book a restaurant or somewhere. That's all you have to do. And that will get things going. And then it'll move on from there. So if anyone feels like coming forward, I can give you names. I have a list. Particularly, this is particularly important for new patients. So when you're first diagnosed, you feel really lonely and isolated, and it's really nice to put you in contact with someone on a one-to-one basis. But my list's a bit out of date now. So, and I find it's nice to match people up with people in their similar circumstances. So if you fit any of these bills and you'd like to put yourself forward, and you are happy to chat to someone and give them the benefit of your experience, then I'd like some younger women, some career women. I do have quite a few women come along with school-age children and younger, and people that want to talk, that maybe want to have a baby and want to talk to someone that's gone through the same emotions about whether they should or shouldn't. I've had a lot of people recently who are fit, have got LAM, and then they're really scared about how they're going to keep fit. So that's quite an issue. And Simon gets quite a lot of people at or around the menopause that would like some support too. So, because obviously there's different issues with the hormone levels dropping and different implications going on there. So if anyone feels like coming forward, I'd really like to hear from you. You don't have to do it today. Just email me, that's fine, or call me in the office for a chat if you've got some questions you want to ask about it. Okay, the Lamb Centre. Incredibly successful, I think, from the feedback. Everybody's really seems to be delighted with it, including the commissioners, I think. So, but it's although it's been a very busy year, we still have to fight tooth and nail to keep it there, because the funding issues that are going on in the NHS definitely mean that nothing nowadays is set in concrete. So Simon's had 31 new patients referred over the last year. And I know that the Thursday clinic is very busy now. They now have seen 107 women since, I think, is it 2 years since the centre? Can't see Simon. Oh, there you are. Yeah, 2 years. Okay, so it's one of the largest lamb services in the world now. And just as a bit of information, really, 20 patients now are taking rapamycin, so as a result of the study that was done. Respiratory Alliance, right. Kelly and I have been very involved in this, and I know she said, oh, Jan will tell you all about it, but really it's a lobbying group that's being set up. And the Department of Health, realising that with the new funding rules that came in this year, there was no longer going to be a policy group representing respiratory services in England at all. So how are we going to get a chunk of any of the money that was there? So they asked the 4 big organisations, British Thoracic Society, the British Lung Foundation, Asthma UK and the Primary Respiratory Alliance, to start a consultation process with various stakeholders across the UK. And we were seen as stakeholder for patient groups, which we were very flattered about, because we are so tiny. And when Kelly and I went to the meeting, wow, we were just a tiny little representation in all these really big wig people in the respiratory world. But we've been asked our opinion every step of the way. So your voice is being heard. We've had surveys to complete, and there's another meeting next week. And they're going to tell us who the executive officers are and what's going to go forward and how they're going to start the lobbying campaign. So I shall be going to that next week, and watch this space really with that one. Oh yeah, I'm going to move on to fundraising now. I'm leaving all those boring things. But I'm just going to, mainly because it's our 10th anniversary, I feel that I was going to do a bit of a roundup of things and hopefully thank a few people too, because there's been some tremendous efforts over the years. Those little sweeties there are Jim Hemington's daughter and friends. And there's David at the bottom with our banner. So we've been involved with the London Marathon now since the year 2000. And one of the consultants here ran for us in the year 2000, just before we had our golden bonds. And I think that's what set Anne to thinking, oh, this is a good way of making some money. We'll apply to the marathon organisers and see if we can have one of these golden bonds. And we pay £300, I think it is, for the bonds, but then we ask people to pledge £2,000 to us if we give them a bond. So Tim ran it for 3 years. We got our bonds in 2001. Another doctor here who did actually work on lamb research. We probably don't remember that, quite a long time ago, and he's now a consultant in Derby, I think. He came in on the team, and Tony Kennett, who was Louise Wardle's husband, he worked for us tirelessly, actually, for about 8 or 9 years on it, and really built it up. We got an increase from 3 bonds to 5 bonds, and that really helped with the fundraising. So we now have a guaranteed place for 5 people every year. So 9 people have actually been mad enough to run it twice for us, and 2 people have run it 3 times. I can't believe it. The amazing Robin Page and our Dr. Tim Harrison. So we've had 86 runners, and they've run 2,236 miles for us. So I think that's fairly impressive. and we have raised £135,000 via it. So it is a really big money earner for us. So if any of you know any marathon runners, because we do struggle a bit to get runners each year, and it is really lovely if they are associated with the Lamb Patient, because it gives them lots of incentive to. I see someone nudging someone there. To raise funds, so it's a good one. So these are just to thank our top marathon fundraisers. Robin, as I say, has done it 3 times and raised nearly £13,000 for us. Jim Hemmington, unfortunately Claire can't be here today, but he's done it twice. Claire Spencer had to walk it this time. She was in so much pain, but she finished it and she's raised £10,000. And John's friend Darren Whitney, he's done it twice too. So there they all are. I think Robin's the one in the sunglasses in this picture here. So this year we only had 4 runners, so the funds were down a bit, but they're still managing to probably bring in around £10,000, which is fantastic. Alex is here, I think. Yes, over there with Lucas. So the money's still coming in. And I want to thank Julie and David very much for being there on the day, but also being there beforehand and doing all the organisation. It is very stressful, isn't it? Oh, and Libby too. Oh, thank you, Libby. Oh, she bakes cakes, great. And John Wood was there supporting, and in fact, we even had somebody interviewed this year on the BBC. So Lamb was mentioned on the BBC too, so that was fantastic. And Tom Goodliff for doing the running bests. Thank you all. So we've had other mad sporting fundraisers who also have raised massive amounts of money. And I think a huge thank you needs to go to Rufus, because he just every year keeps bringing in masses of money. And I don't know, he must just have the fittest body, because he just seems to be able to do everything. And Mum Sandra is here. So please pass on our acknowledgements. We really are very, very grateful. Daniel Waitley, I don't know Daniel, but he's raised 3,260. Jenny Young did the Great North Run. The Clitheroe lads, unfortunately, I've forgotten her name, Sarah Sharples, she's a Lamb Patient, and her brothers, Matt and Richard, and their friend John run it. But she couldn't be here today because they just adopted a baby, so they're a bit busy. But so, and Amanda Simpson, who's normally here, I don't know if many of you remember, she lives on the Isle of Wight, and she seems to have some incredibly, shall I say, wealthy and influential friends. So when checks come in and they have names on them that I recognise, so... and they're from posh banks in the city. And she's raised 5.5, well, I think it's nearly 5.5 now, on her Just Giving page, just by encouraging people to do things for her. So that's fabulous. So other fundraising and donations this year, Shabnam Akhtar, she normally comes as well, she got a group of Year 5 pupils to I can't remember what it was. It wasn't anything very great, but they must have been pretty fantastic at it, because they raised £1,165. So the Freemasons Grand Charity, which we were actually talking about yesterday at our meeting, Freemasons are really good people. If you know any Freemasons, they're always looking for people to give money to. So do please put our name forward. The Grangerous Methodist Church in Woollerton here in Nottingham, every year they send us at least £1,000. So I want to say thank you to them. Many of you may remember Jane Ward, she just doesn't come to meetings anymore, but maybe she's just not a meeting person, I don't know. And she actually works for Lloyds Bank. And as you will see later, we really would like to encourage people to approach their employers if they do matched giving, because extra £500, and all she had to do was ask the employers to match her fundraising. So really good one. The Rose family, unfortunately Carol couldn't come today either, but they are every year they just do car boot sales and all sorts of things for us and send in a good donation. Paul Arnold, who every year again he's doing something for us. The Hemmington family, again, this is Jim again, but his wife Claire. They've got some lovely family in America who donate money to us, and unfortunately her aunt, who's Delphine, died this year, so the proceeds from the funeral came to us. And the Exeter University Students' Union, this came about as Julie Delancey, who many of you will remember, put us forward as a charity of the year. And it was incredible, really, because they sent this photograph in, and I looked at it and I thought, I'm sure I know that girl. And one of the girls in the photograph lives round the corner from our house, but she was at Exeter raising funding for LAM, and she knew nothing about me working for LAM at all. It was just a total coincidence. So very nice. So, and I want to thank these people because, as you can see, over the years, they have raised a phenomenal amount of money, particularly the Fergusons and Alison Leslie. But everyone I would like to thank. Ken and Jean have already sent in a donation. They say hello to everyone, but they couldn't come today. But another big donation came in today from them. Heather Taylor, she set up the first standing order donation, which is another way you can give to us, and I'm not going to go on about it. But and there's lots of people that donate but prefer to be anonymous with it. And that's not for tax purposes, it's just because they don't like going on about it. So thank you to everyone. And also to these people. Linda, who had a fantastic web page and raised so much money. The Hutchinsons, who have a couple of these in their locality. So if any of you feel you could take one of these and put it somewhere, it brings in a decent amount of money. So just shops, garden centres. There's a chip shop, I think. So people just put their change in them and it mounts up. The Mullins family, who are tireless with their table sales and garden parties, absolutely fantastic. Rufus again, who I've already mentioned. Helen and Charlie, who are particularly brilliant. And Sarah and John over there, particularly with their Watford football associations. And we had a fabulous surprise last week. This courtesy of John Wood. I came in and there was a scrappy little envelope on my desk with an American stamp on, and inside was a cheque for $16,000. So I was delighted, made my day anyway. So this is what's happened over the last 10 years. The blue columns are each year, and that big one in 2007-8 was the doxycycline year. And the red one is the cumulative. So as you can see, it's quite a lot of money. So this year, we think we're probably around the 86,000 mark, which is way back up. Again, probably thanks to that $16,000 donation. But we were blaming it on the recession the past couple of years, but it's going back up again this year, so we're pleased. And since 2003, you lot have raised £700,000, which is phenomenal for so few people. So you should congratulate yourself. What's on today? Well, hopefully you've all got programmes, but if you haven't, let me know and I'll go and get some more done. Mr. Rupesh Bhatt is coming over from Birmingham to talk to us about angiomyolipomas. Simon's going to reveal all about the doxycycline trial. Debbie's here, and Debbie's a fantastic speaker. Not that I want to set her up for a good talk, but she is a good speaker, and hopefully she's going to excite you all with what she's getting up to in the lab. And then we're going to sing happy birthday after lunch. And Dr. Neil Holden is coming after lunch to... we're going to have an interactive session on panic attacks. And then there'll be a question and answer forum at the end of the day with Simon and Anne. There'll be a box in the foyer at lunchtime. I think it's on the little coffee table that's out there. If you just write any questions that you want aired at the question and answer session on the pieces of paper that are on the tables, and then pop them in the box, then we can sift through them, and so we don't repeat the same questions over again. So what's out there? There's some very nice research posters, and two of Simon's researchers are coming along. Well, Debbie's here, so. And Jenny Kane, who's a PhD student, is responsible for one of them. And Zhao Yo, she's a medical student. They're both interested in LAM, and they've both given up some of their Saturday just to come along and meet you. So do ask them questions about their research. They're lovely girls. We have a representative from AR Liquide, Helen Wilkins, who's at the back. Karen, Wilkins, who's at the back. Apologies. And if you have any questions about your home oxygen, she's the person to speak to, and I think she's got some stuff to demonstrate out there as well. Then Jane has potted loads of her plants on from the garden. And so they're out there. Please buy them. She's worked hard. Of course, we've got Christmas cards. We're having a raffle that Irene and John are responsible largely for. But thank you to everyone that has bought raffle gifts. We've been overwhelmed, actually. So despite me thinking nobody had responded to my email, you obviously did listen, so thank you. There's some books down there and a DVD. We've got some T-shirts that were printed up last year, but you can also buy, there are different designs that you can get on the web. I've got some trolley tokens and wristbands that are quite useful. And I want to thank my helpers that have come along. My daughter Sophie's come up from Bristol, and one of my oldest friends, Maggie, who's up the back there, has come from Northampton to help us out today. So I want to thank them as well. And there was someone else I wanted to thank, and I can't remember who it is. I'll do it after lunch when he comes back to me. And I'm not going to apologise for ending on a poignant note, but I cannot possibly end without acknowledging that we lost Alison Leslie this year. And she was an amazing person. She didn't really come to many meetings. She wasn't really a committee person, but she raised thousands of pounds for us, and she really supported the transplant patients up at Newcastle. So that's how I'm going to end. She, was a very special person, and we will really miss her. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the day.